Rana Abdullah Hammad, you are a TV presenter, a podcast host. I want to ask you a question. You've had contributions in platforms like Propaganda. How is that platform and how is that experience like?
First of all, thank you so much for having me in your show. And secondly, I started my digital media with a platform like Propaganda, which is run by a millennial, but it tells the stories of the youth, the stories which are pertinent, the stories which really do matter. It evolved me as a person. It evolved me as a digital journalist. We talked about stories which were pertaining to the youth and किस तरीके से वो youth को affect करती थी. Different stories how the youth is affected by that, but by presenting it in a manner which is also relatable to the youth. Because let's be honest, the future of journalism surely seems like that digital space is going to be, it is going to take the major chunk of the population, and then people are going to get their news from that. So how it evolved me personally as a person would be that I was able to fact check different stories. I was able to talk about topics which usually people are afraid of talking about in the national media landscape or in the satellite landscape. So usually those were the topics we talked about, wrote about, and interacted with the youth.
You're currently part of Pakistan TV. Tell us more about that platform and also the significance of English media to portray an international image of Pakistan.
So, Pakistan TV started back in October, if I'm not wrong. And since October, it has grown significantly. Right now, it is a reach of more than 360 million, which is astonishing in itself. That how, previously we used to talk, until last year, we used to talk that how, English medium news channels are not really relatable here in Pakistan, and no one is going to get the viewership and whatnot. But right now, we can see that how platforms like the state TV, which is Pakistan TV, is building up narratives. Platforms like even a few other English run digital media platforms are currently operating from Islamabad and even in Lahore, a few in Lahore, and they are making global narratives. We saw that how Pakistan TV played a very pivotal role in the first round of Islamabad talks. We saw that how Pakistan TV had the whole setup done at the Islamabad talks, and how Pakistan's narrative is now being heard by the world, and that is through the English medium channels, and that is through page plays a very major role in that, because usually the news we see other platforms like Geo, like AirY, like Dawn, and yes, about the international players. Right now, Pakistan is playing that role of a international mediator, and that is because of how Pakistan post last year May's unprovoked attacks by how the false flag Pahalgam led to Pakistan's Bunyan and Marsoos, and then how Pakistan led that Bunyan and Marsoos and Marka Haq's victory into turning that into a diplomatic victory through these media channels. Like Atatare, even today in one of the presses, said that Pakistan's media played a very defining role in last year's attacks by India, and how Pakistan's media is now able to take Pakistan's narrative at a global stage, and it is and at this current time, Pakistan's narrative is being heard by global leaders. And it is obviously easier for a global leader to hear Pakistan's story in the language which they speak, rather than having a translator by them and then them translating it for them. New normal in the future. That is what I feel. Though the current mushroom growth of English medium satellite channels or digital medium media channels, that is going to slow down. Some channels are going to close, and then eventually, a few channels would remain, and those channels would be the voice of Pakistan at global stage.
Speaking of Islamabad talks, Pakistan's mediation between the US and Iran has been vastly recognized. I want your opinion on this phenomenon. Do you think that this ceasefire agreement will take place anytime soon?
It is definitely going to take place. Why? Because Pakistan's role, we previously also saw that how Pakistan made sure that regional peace is Pakistan's priority. We saw that how the Lebanon ceasefire, how the opening of Strait of Hormuz was Pakistan's top priority. We saw that how Abbas Araqchi not just once but twice paid a visit to Pakistan in the span of 3 days. That shows that diplomacy was at play. That shows that Pakistan is a country which wants peace, not just for Pakistan, but for the region. And right now, what Pakistan has done is commendable. How, by the efforts of Pakistan's civil leadership as well as the military leadership, who has time and time again paid a visit to Tehran and made sure that Pakistan's point of view is clear, that Pakistan is going to facilitate the peace process rather than being a facilitator to violent attacks or anything like that. Not just once, but twice Donald Trump tweeted and Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social the two ceasefires are because of Pakistan Chief of Defense Forces, Field Marshal Saeed Asim Munir, and Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has played a great role in making sure that this ceasefire continues, not just once but twice. We saw an extension too, and right now we can also see that diplomacy is at play. Right now, the CBS News, which says that Iranians had parked their aircraft here in Noor Khan Air Base, while the news was later on debunked by not just one but 4 or 5 credible sources. That shows that Pakistan wants peace and Pakistan wants transparent peace. Earlier in the week, there were talks that by Wednesday, some sort of development would be reported. But due to Trump's visit right now to China, which is currently going to happen in the next couple of hours, Trump is going to land in China. Then from 14th till 16th, Trump is going to be in China, and then it is reported as of now that on the 22nd, Pakistan's PM Shehbaz Sharif is reported to go to China. And then earlier on, we also saw that Pakistan's DPM had discussions with the Chinese counterparts and the Chinese officials. And we also saw that a couple of days ago, Pakistan's Interior Minister, if I'm not wrong, also had a long meeting with Natalie Baker here in Islamabad. So that shows that how Pakistan is going to facilitate the mediation process. Right now, it looks like that the only open window is between the 16th till the 20th, and that is the place where something might just happen, and the peace signing and Islamabad talks could conclude in the peace talks having a positive result for not just Pakistan, not just Iran, or not just the few neighboring countries, but for the whole region. We see that how global oil prices are surging right now because of the regional conflict. But that is going to come to an end leading into June as we speak right now, and as the situation evolves right now. So that is how I analyze the situation, or that is how I take the situation.
Speaking of the CBS report, you just mentioned it. I found it extremely bizarre, confusing. I was reading a very famous American journalist tweet. She was saying that when she was covering the Islamabad talks, obviously US aircrafts landed in Pakistan, Iranian aircrafts landed in Pakistan. Obviously, representatives from both sides came to Pakistan. Their aircrafts landed on Pakistani soil, trying to spin that story into saying that Pakistan was not neutral in the mediation. It is a far-fetched idea. It's punching above your weight. It makes no sense. How do you see it?
It is definitely trying to create a chaos out of something which is not even happening, or out of something which is beyond imagination in some sorts. And over here, I'll quote a tweet by Kamran Yusuf, who is a very senior journalist and covers the beat of Foreign Office. And he, in his tweet, also writes that the noticeable thing in the current Pakistan-US recent ties has been that, unlike the past, there have been no divergent interests. American boots are no longer on Afghan soil. There is no security assistance, and hence no charge of a double game. Eventually, they found a story about Iranian aircraft parked at Noor Khan Air Base. The Foreign Office has already issued a rejoinder explaining every detail. And in all of this, one thing which reflects over here is that we are definitely itching some parts and some sectors of even the American diplomacy, which is clearly shown, is being highlighted through the story by CBS, that how we are hurting, where how Pakistan's peace efforts in specific is hurting, some sectors in the American bureaucracy. Though Sami Yousafzai is a very senior journalist, but a story like that coming from a senior journalist of Sami Yousafzai's statures definitely shows that Pakistan is doing something which is right. Pakistan is doing everything in their power so that the diplomacy and peace prevails, and not just the two countries, but the region comes to peace. And it also shows that a story can definitely get you clicks, but if you report on reality, if you report on facts, that is going to get you credibility. And in that story, there was no credibility. Yes, there were facts, there were hearsays, there were anonymous sources in the story. Yes, a journalist does not really need to reveal a source, but at least for a story of this sensitivity, there should have been some attributions to the sources being mentioned in the so-called sources being mentioned in the story. And it also shows that Pakistan's peace efforts made a dent, and is going to, and Islamabad's peace efforts is also going to make a dent in the future, in the coming days. And we'll see that as the time evolves, and as the discussions goes into further days and further times. We also need to know one thing which is pertinent to mention over here, is that Abbas Araghchi, the Iranian delegation, paid a visit to China before Trump right now was going to pay a visit to China. So that means that something of sorts is going to play. Previously, people were speculating that the peace talks or the signing ceremony of the peace deal is going to happen in China. But as of now, there is no clarity on that. And Pakistan's DPM, Pakistan's PM, Pakistan's CDF has, time and time again and maintained, even at the Markai Haq ceremony, Pakistan's PM said that we have received an Iranian proposal that has been forwarded right now. So that shows that how convicted and how firm Pakistan is at the global stage to maintain peace.